Welcome back to another learning series with Mr. Knight. Today's lesson will be on the water cycle. Now, the water cycle is the cycling of water or the movement of water through the environment. Okay? Now, a very important thing to note is that the water cycle is controlled by two main processes, which is a heating process and a cooling process. So once water is moving through the environment, these two processes will control how the water will be moving. Okay, so bear it in mind. Now, so this is the water cycle. Pretty much, if you notice, there are four processes indicating here: evaporation, transpiration, condensation, and precipitation. Okay, and of course, we'll have some runoff water. So we'll look at each of these processes at a time. Okay, just to have a little bit more understanding of what they are. All right, so let's look at the first one, which is evaporation. Now, evaporation, this is a process by which water changes from the liquid state to the gaseous state when heat is applied. So notice this is governed by a heating process. Okay, so evaporation takes place at the surface of water. Okay, so only at the surface of water evaporation takes place. Now, where can this happen? It can happen in the ocean, lakes, ponds, stream, and rivers. Okay. Also, it could take place at the surface of our skin when we're sweating. Okay, so while we sweat, water can evaporate from our skin. Okay, and it can take place in leaf when stomata are open, and we call that process transpiration. We'll look at that separately. Okay, or you can simply say evapotranspiration. Okay, it also take place in our kitchen while we're cooking, and some of us will experience this. While we're cooking, you see steam coming from our pot, which means the liquid water in the pot is converting to a gaseous state, and that is water. So the gaseous form will escape from the surface of the liquid water into the atmosphere, and that is evaporation. So let's go back to the cycle to check out the other processes. Now, transpiration. Let's look at transpiration. Now, transpiration is the process by which water travels through plants and evaporates at the leaves. Okay? Now, it's not only the leaves, but mainly the leaves. Okay? And so, point to note again is that transpiration increases with temperature, which means as temperature is increasing, the rate of transpiration will also increase. Okay? And transpiration can take place at leaves mainly. It can also occur at the flower and also at stems. Okay? All right, so let's jump back to the cycle again for our next process, which is condensation. Now, condensation, this is a process by which gaseous water cools and turns into liquid. Now, something to note is that if water cools to 0 degrees Celsius, it turns into solid, which is known as ice. So if water cools to that low temperature, it will eventually move from liquid into ice. And so some example of condensation taking place at various places, such as in the cloud, we have condensation taking place there. We have condensation taking place at the surface of bottles. And so, for example, if you have a drink bottle and or even water bottle, and the content is cool. For example, if you have icy liquid or icy drink or just simply ice in a bottle, it will cool the gas on the outside of the bottle, and the gas on the outside will condense, and hence you will see liquid running from the bottle. So it's not liquid coming from the bottle inside, but from the gases that surround the bottle, they cool and turn into liquid. We can also see condensation taking place at our AC units. From time to time, you will see water droplets coming from an AC units, especially on the outside of the AC unit. Okay, you'll also see it dripping from the cars as well while the AC is turned on. Okay, so let's jump back to the cycle for another process, and this process will be precipitation. Now, precipitation is a process by which condensed water falls towards the surface of the earth. Now, the reason why they fall towards the surface of the earth is if you move from gas to liquid, what you realize is that the density, okay, because the molecules are so compact, all right, it become more dense, and hence it will be able to fall easier under the influence of gravity. So gravity will cause these water molecules, or water form or state, to fall easier compared to gaseous, because gases will tend to rise, and as they cool, they get a little bit more condensed and have a little more density, and hence they will fall under the influence of gravity. And so some examples of this, we have rain, okay, snow, hail, and sleet. Okay, so those are the ways that water may fall to the earth's surface. All right, let's jump back to the side. Just look at the last thing, which is runoff water. Okay, and let's look what runoff water is. Okay, so runoff water is the flow of water on the surface of the earth. Sometimes this water ends up under the ground, in ocean, in ponds, in lakes, in rivers, and streams. So typically when rain falls and the water on higher terrain such as hill or mountains, the water will eventually run on the surface of the earth, and of course could end up in different places. So that's what runoff water is, water running on the surface of the earth. So one last time looking on the water cycle, so have a mental picture of this, see the processes, understand the processes. And just to make a point right here, that evaporation and transpiration requires heating, so heat is applied to these two processes. Condensation and precipitation pretty much involve cooling. So cooling takes place in condensation, and if the cool to be at a certain point, or at least a 0 degrees Celsius forming ice, then you will have your precipitation takes place. Okay, all right. And so this is the end of the lesson. So folks, I thank you for being here again, and simply continue learning and keep updated by just simple subscribing. See you in the next lesson.